Hello everybody, welcome to this video for R&B reviews, and in case you are new to the channel, I'm Rob.
Brendan.
And we got a question from Freddy3911. He said, I was wondering if you had any favorite Batman movies, and do you think they should have made Batman Triumphant in which the villains were the Scarecrow, Man-Bat, Mad Hatter, and Harley Quinn? And interestingly, they just announced that they're going to go ahead and go through with making a third Batman movie with Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan. So this, I think, ties in pretty well. So we're going to be answering his question about what our favorite Batman movies are and Batman Triumphant. Now, for those of you that don't know, Batman Triumphant was a project dating back to that was supposed to come out in 1999. It was going to be another sequel in the Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher Batman series. It was supposed to take place after Batman and Robin. But the thing is, I don't know where, Brendan, where Freddy got the information from, but the story that I found was that it was going to feature the Scarecrow as the main villain. He was going to resurrect the Joker with his fear toxin, and Harley Quinn, who, if you're familiar with Batman the Animated Series, she was the Joker's sidekick. Then she started to appear in the comic books, and she was going to be the Joker's daughter instead of the love interest that you kind of see with the animated series. So I don't know if you had ever heard of this before or not.
I'd never heard of the project before. I know fans really would like to see Harley Quinn in a movie because the character was created for the animated series, so you know it'd always be a nice arc. And they featured her in various animated stuff, and the recent video game Batman Arkham Asylum, they threw her in there. That movie, I mean, like, of course they're going to be planning another Batman movie before they came out with Batman and Robin, but Batman and Robin came out and just was a stinker.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why they abandoned it. We didn't see Batman again until Batman began.
Other information I found was Joel Schumacher was slated to direct that one, but they were going to hire a different screenwriter. So my opinion on it is I honestly would like to have seen the script form a little bit to see what type of, if they were going to go in a different direction. I mean, Batman and Robin were going to be back. I don't know if Batgirl was going to be back. But I like the relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn, like from the animated series, where he kind of has this semi-abusive relationship with her, and he walks all over her. Sometimes he treats her well, sometimes he treats her like dirt. I like that relationship better. I don't know. I think it would have been. I don't think Batman fans would have liked it with the daughter relationship.
No, because the Joker, he's not supposed to care about anything. If you give him something to care about, you humanize him, and you're not supposed to humanize the villains. You're supposed to make them as evil and sinister as possible.
Wait, do you think Jack Nicholson would have came back and done Batman Triumphant?
Yeah, he was pissed off he wasn't asked about being in the Dark Knight, so I'm not sure. It probably would have come down to a dollars thing, whether or not they would have wanted to pay the money to get Jack Nicholson, but I always thought his portrayal of the Joker was great. Frankly, I can't really think of any real weak portrayals of the Joker. Mark Hamill does all the animated stuff, and I think he nails the Joker voice. And we have Heath Ledger. I don't think we can say anything about that hasn't already been said. With Heath Ledger, he kind of went for more of a Clockwork Orange-ish kind of vibe, where he just wanted to cause pure destruction and chaos. Whereas Jack Nicholson's, I felt he was a criminal.
And Cesar Romero from the Adam West Show, and yeah, and actually, if you look at all the different Jokers, they're different, and even the other Batman villains, each portrayal is different. They don't really copy off each other. But yeah, with the Batman Triumphant, I think Jack Nicholson would have done it if he got enough money. Like I know when he made the Tim Burton film, he demanded star billing, and I think he might have made more money than Michael Keaton. So I think if Batman and Robin was a huge success, I'm sure the studio would have thrown a lot of money at him, and he would have done it either way.
Yeah, well, just thank God they put the final nail in the coffin for the Joel Schumacher Batman movies, because I didn't like those. Those were way too flashy, and it wasn't Batman.
We can get over to the next topic of the question. What's our favorite Batman movie? So what would be yours?
See, with mine, I've loved Batman ever since I watched the animated show as a kid. I love the animated movies, but the one I really was first into was Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton. I know, like, hardcore comic fans of the series aren't really crazy about that movie because it's a little darker. It's almost as much of a gangster movie as it is sort of a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. Also, The Dark Knight and Batman Begins are terrific flicks, and I can't wait to see where Christopher Nolan takes the series in the third one, but I've always loved the Adam West movie. Yeah. The Batman movie from the animated series, because that animated show, I watch it as much as I can when it's on TV. It's the cheesiest thing ever made. They totally are. They're completely self-aware that the show is cheesy and hammy, but you know, they completely drag Batman's good name through the mud in the show. But it's so funny and hokey, and everyone's over the top. You just can't help but to watch it. And the shark repellent thing, how do you not love that? It's just so ridiculous and stupid. I love that movie.
Yeah, I first found out about Batman in the 80s. I grew up watching the show when it was in syndication, so that's where Adam West was my first Batman. And honestly, I really like most of the Batman movies. If I had to pick a favorite, I would probably tie it between Tim Burton's Batman and probably Batman Begins. I used to love Batman Returns, but after I watched it recently, for some reason, it doesn't hold up to me as well.
It's a sequel. It's so made for that. I mean, Danny DeVito is really good in it as the Penguin.
Yeah,
but it's a not very good film.
Well, I still kind of like it. My problem with Danny DeVito Penguin, even when I saw it when I was a kid, I don't like that he was sex obsessed, you know, that he was dirty. When he sees Catwoman, he makes some pussy jokes and all this stuff, and I never got into that. I discovered other Batmans. There's actually, I don't know if you knew this, there's a whole series of Batman movies that date back to the 40s. The first Batman movie was made in 1943. It starred Lewis Wilson as Batman, and then they made a sequel in 1949 with Robert Lowery called Batman and Robin. And these movies, they were not feature films, they were movie serials. They were for 15 parts. Each part was 20 minutes, and then there was a cliffhanger, and the kids at the children's matinees would have to come back the following week to see what happened to their hero, and sometimes they got out of the problem very simple, and that's kind of like what they did with the Batman show with Adam West.
Yeah, I would say every episode of the Adam West show ends with them in some sort of, you know, whenever they go up against the villain, that usually lasts a couple episodes, and the villain will capture them, and, you know, they'll be lowering them into like a vat of hot coffee or something, and, you know, they'll get out at the last second, the first 2 minutes of the new episode.
Yeah, and I recently rewatched the TV show, and honestly, I liked the first season of it much more than I did the movie. The first season, if you watch the first season, they take the show a little bit more seriously. Yeah, it can be a bit campy and a bit goofy, but I think, like, for example, there's a couple characters that get killed, supporting characters in the first season, and if you watch the Zelda the Great episode where Anne Baxter is the villainess, Zelda the Great, directed by Norman Foster, there's some good film noir-like camera angles with shadows and darkness, and I think once the movie came out and people started to associate more with camp and all that stuff, that's when I think the producers started to believe it, and then they had to make it more goofy, more camp, and by the time they got to the third season, it just wasn't that good anymore.
I mean, Adam West, he's such an icon from just playing that role, and, you know, although it's not a serious Batman portrayal, transitioning to, you know, you compare it to, like, Christian Bale and, you know, The Dark Knight, you know, there's such serious movies. Because of The Dark Knight, now superhero movies are really given much more, they're looked at a lot more seriously, you know. The look in those films was just terrific. Just the cinematography of the Tim Burton movies, I thought was the best out of any of them. I mean, just the villains in it, too. I just love the gangsters in it and all of the Joker's cronies. I mean, Jack Nicholson's Joker, he is my favorite Joker of all of them, I think. You know, granted, it's Jack Nicholson. He's almost playing himself. I mean, you hired Jack Nicholson to play someone crazy.
Yeah, and you know what Batman movie we didn't mention so far? Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now that is a great movie, and I watched the animated series and that movie recently, and the animation holds up really well, and I really was surprised. Batman Mask of the Phantasm had great animation, a great story,
and it really felt like it had a serious subject matter. I didn't feel like it was dumbing it down for a kid audience.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of felt like it was trying to, you know, level with you and give you a straight story, you know, and it was sinister too, which is, you know, you don't really find that in animated movies much.
Yeah, and it holds up very well. It definitely holds up better than that recent animated series that came out when Batman Begins came out. I don't know if you ever caught it, but the animation and the voice work to me was just not good. That would probably be my least favorite incarnation of Batman.
And, you know, the animated series, going back to that, I mean, they base that animated series as sort of as a continuation of the Tim Burton films.
Yeah.
So they always kind of preserve that look and sort of the, you know, sort of almost like the 1930s gangster vibe almost.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've kind of kept those same voice actors, you know, in video games and later reincarnations till now, you know, which is great because I think it's a terrific animated series. And that movie, if you haven't seen Mask of the Phantasm, find it. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, and there's also another sequel called Sub-Zero with Mr. Freeze, and then there's Mystery of the Batwoman, which I thought was okay. I haven't seen Sub-Zero in a long time, so I can't really comment on it, but I watched Mask of the Phantasm, and I really enjoyed it. They're very good stuff, so... Okay, so that's our talk on Batman. So, you know what to do. Leave your comments. What's your favorite Batman incarnation, or your movies, or what have you, maybe your least favorite as well. And, and thank you very much for watching. Take care now.